It's the Y2K Collector coming at you with a midweek live session. Uh, it's Wednesday night, so I don't anticipate a lot of people jumping into this live. I know around this time of year, a lot of people got a lot of stuff going on. So people are busy, people are working, people have just things going on. But I've noticed something on YouTube, and I want to kind of have the conversation about it really quickly with the Y2K crew. Also, I've gotten some really sweet pickups this week. It's only the middle of the week, but all of my online orders have been trickling in throughout the week. Charles, what's going on, man? All of my online orders for the buy two get one have been trickling in this week, and so I figured I'd show you guys some of what I've gotten. And I'm gonna be honest with you, this buy two get one this time around, it's been pretty good. Doug, what's going on? It's been pretty good. I gotta be honest. I haven't gotten a lot of disc only stuff. I've actually been getting more complete stuff, like shocking. Like it's kind of shocking some of what I've been getting. And so I'm gonna share some of that with you guys. I did, Doug. I not only so this weekend, because I had some time, usually whenever the promotion first kicks off, that's when I try to hit the stores. So I try to hit the stores that Sunday because I know that pretty much after that Sunday, the stores are going to be empty. And then once I kind of do all of my rounds at the stores, then what I typically will do is I will just, blitz anything that I see that makes sense online. So I'm going to kind of walk you guys through some of what I've gotten in the mail so far this week that I'm keeping in my collection. And then I kind of want to talk about something that I've been seeing with these video game conventions because I thought it was pretty interesting. So I'm not gonna wait. I'm gonna respect the four of you that are in here right now, and I'm gonna go ahead and get going on some of these pickups. Easy gamers in the building. What's going on? Easy. This buy two get one has been good to me, man. This might be one of the better buy two get ones that I've had in a long time. And surprisingly enough, most of these are online pickups, to be quite honest with you. Um, I've only gone to three stores, like three actual stores, but outside of that, everything else has been online. So it's been pretty good for me. I'm going to show you guys some of what's been coming in the mail so far so you can guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. First up, we obviously have Grand Theft Auto for the Game Boy Color. So this was one that came in the mail. I did a return rebuy on Belmont's Revenge. Um, because this is one that I really wanted for the original Game Boy. I still collect for the original Game Boy, and so this was a return rebuy. Got this one for free as part of the buy two get one, so this was pretty stoked. Then Saturday Night Slam Masters. This might be the only way I'd have been willing to do the Saturday Night Slam Masters game. So pick this one up. And then Illusion of Gaia. So this was one that I've been tempted to get for a while on the Super Nintendo, but just never really found a deal that was worth it. So these were like some of the four of the cartridge based ones. Easy, you said you have to hit that 250 mark, or they don't let you do so they don't let you do the return rebuy anymore. Ah, I see what I see. Okay, all right, yeah. So hit it up tomorrow, see what you can find. Um, yeah, it does have Hagar in it. I was playing it the other night. So I got these four. Then on top of these four, I also got this. So I was really shocked when this came in the mail. So I actually got, so this was my free game. I bought Resident Evil 2 along with two other pricier games. And so Resident Evil wound up being the free game. I'd have to go to my orders history to see what the other two games were. I think one was a Silent Hill game, and I can't remember what the other one was, but this was the one that wound up being free. So I was actually blown away when I saw that it was in the case, but I was even more blown away when I opened it and it was actually complete. So complete in box, online, no driving necessary. This one was a really dope pickup. Free copy of Resident Evil 2. Not mad at it at all. This was another one that came in the mail. So another really solid pickup there. So we've got Illusion. So we've got these Super Nintendo games. We've got these Game Boy games here. And then we've got Resident Evil 2. And then also got this copy of Pokemon Ruby. So if for those of you who follow the channel, you will know that I recently picked up a copy of Ruby. And my copy that I got, I was really skeptical about it because it didn't have the number imprints on it. So I felt like it was fake. I was like, oh, this has to be like a fake version. So I actually returned that version to GameStop, and I'm glad that I did because during the promotion, which I was completely blown away by, I saw that they put this back on their website. So I immediately added it to my cart. And when it came in, I was actually shocked because I was like, dang, this thing is actually real. So they did send me a real copy of Pokemon Ruby. Now, here's the funny thing about this. When they sent me this copy of Pokemon Ruby, it wasn't just like I don't know how many of you normally order from GameStop's website, but usually they just throw it in like a little envelope and then just mail it to you. No, they put this thing in one of the PSA boxes that they use to send like Pokemon cards when they're sending Pokemon cards off the PSA to have them graded. They actually bubble wrap this, put this in a PSA box, then put it in another smaller box, and then put it in a larger box and send it to me. So I was like, dang, like they did all of that for just a copy of Pokemon Ruby. But yeah, I'm believing that this one was a legit copy. So this was another a game that came in as part of the buy two get one. And then this is another game that I got that blew me. Now this one was the one that really blew me away because I don't think I've ever gotten a jewel case mailed to me from GameStop. But peep this. They mailed me a complete in-box copy of Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Now here's the thing about this pickup. They messed up, right? Because what I ordered online was actually a copy of Castlevania Chronicles for the PlayStation 1, which is actually, they have that priced more expensive than Symphony of the Night. Now, getting Symphony of the Night complete in box is roughly around the price of what Castlevania Chronicles would be like disc only, which I'm pretty sure is what it would have been. So I kind of have mixed feelings on this because I'm like, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted Castlevania Chronicles, but this is complete in box, which I've never gotten a complete in box jewel case from them before. So I was like, I don't know how mad I can be about it. I was just kind of like, I'm really toying with the idea of keeping it. And so right now, this is just kind of where I'm at so far, as far as the GameStop pickups go. And for those of you who might have missed like my weekend pickups, I'm sorry if I'm moving the camera too much. But for those of you who might have missed it, over the weekend, I got a copy of Project Justice complete in box. I got a copy of Alone in the Dark, missing the manual. And then I also got a copy of, this was The Ring, Terror's Realm. So I've been getting a whole bunch of like horror games, but I've also been getting a bunch of like really dope retro games to actually add to my collection because a lot of these games I never had. Project Justice was a condition upgrade. I had a reproduction manual and case for the game. Now my whole game is authentic, so that's really dope there. And then I've never had any of these games in my collection either. So Saturday Night Slam Masters, I think I had this at one point and traded it away. Um, I got a couple of other things as well. I've got some games that I'm going to be using for trade because I do have a big trade coming up and I plan on trading for like a super holy grail. For those of you who know, I'm really focusing on like grails for the end of this year. Um, that's kind of where I'm at. Doesn't mean that I'm not picking up like less, cheaper games. As you can see, I've recently picked up Going Quackers on the Game Boy Color. That one's a pretty cheap one. I've also picked up Bust a Move 4 on the Game Boy Color. That one's not too expensive. I've got some of the Dragon Ball games earlier this month. Adventures of Star Saver. This one here, Metal Gear Solid's a little bit more pricey, but those are some of my early month pickups. And then just some other stuff that I picked up earlier this month. These are all the September pickups. The Last Story, Way of the Samurai. And then a bunch of like third and fourth generation stuff. Truxton, Complete in Box, Golden Axe, Strider, Superman, a bunch of just complete in box stuff. Contra Force was one that I got like at the very beginning of the month. I got this like on October 1st. RoboCop, this was a buy two get one pickup. Superman complete in box for the Game Boy. This was a $15 find, really cool there. And then Ghostbusters was also part of the buy two get one. I've got another stack of games here, but these are games that are going to be going for trade. These were all part of the buy two get one, but I didn't really include these because these aren't going into my collection. These are going up for trade bait. And so I'm really working towards a Grail game. Let me catch up on some of the chat here. Resident Evil 2 GameCube is better than a PS1 version. I've never played the PS1 version. Resident Evil Complete in Box is so sick. It looks real. If you're talking about the Pokemon, thank you, because I'm always hesitant on that. Oh, bro, Alone in the Dark is amazing. Great time of year to grab some horror games. Yeah, I know. I was like, isn't it crazy that right around Halloween, I'm getting like Resident Evil and like, all these horror games, all these Silent Hill games and stuff. Doug Fresh, Klonoa. No, I'm not going for a copy of Klonoa. Honestly, I'd really like to get a copy of like Tail Concerto, um, a real copy of Hagane, because I have a reproduction copy of Hagane. So I'm looking for things along those lines, like Hagane, Tail Concerto. One that's really, really pricey is KO Flying Squadron for the Sega CD. That's one that I'm looking for. So a few games like that. You plan on adding more games to your Dreamcast collection? I am planning on adding some more games to my Dreamcast collection. I think I mentioned in my video this morning, because I put out a video showcasing my Dreamcast collection. I gave away, not gave away, but I traded away like half of my Dreamcast collection back in like 2022. And in that trade, a few games that I got rid of that I wish I didn't was Super Magnetic Neo. I wish I never got rid of that. I want that game back. Um, Soul Reaver, Shadow Man, um, Jet Grind Radio. Um, there's a few. There's a few Dreamcast games that I want to get back in my collection. I just, at this point, I'm not gonna eBay them. Like, if I'm just gonna wait till I find them in the wild, and if I find them in the wild, that's when I'll go ahead and add them. Yo, what's up? That Pokemon Ruby is fake. Is it? Oh, dang, they got me. Oh no, you said you're joking. Okay, yeah, no, I was worried. I was like, man, is this legit? But no, it looks legit. Look, it's got the number stamp. It looks pretty legit to me. Um, I don't have the screwdriver to crack it open here on me, but this is the most authentic copy of Ruby that I've ever had in my hand. I mean, I've held a few fake copies of this game. This one, just the weight of it, the feel of the label, the indentations, it just kind of feels legit to me. The translucency of the actual game pack, it feels legit to me. Um, Bichungus, what's going on? I picked up Tekken 5, Tekken $5 advance, and Mario Pinball on the GBA $10 recently. I'm blown away they got Tekken on GBA. Yeah, Tekken on GBA is pretty good. Are you trading away the Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge? No, I'm keeping that. This is staying in the collection. I really wanted this one. Like, I really wanted this one in my Game Boy collection because it's actually pretty good. Like, I was playing it. It's a pretty good game. It's almost like playing Castlevania in slow motion, but I mean it's the Game Boy, so how fast can you really expect it to be? But I personally really like that game. I want Misadventure Trombone. That's one that I do want too. I do want Misadventures of Trombone. That's one that's been on my wish list for some time. I kind of fell back off of looking for that game because I had downloaded it onto my PS Vita, but that is one that I want. I'll give you my social security number for that Pokemon Ruby Red. Nah, man, no, nah. It's not, nah. I think they might have another copy on their website. If you go on their website and check it out, you'll see it there. They should be on there. I legit got Resident Evil 2 on GameCube from a storage garage sale for $5. Dang, that's pretty good, man. That is pretty good. Is Space Channel 5 worth getting on the Dreamcast? I heard Metal Jesus talk about that game. I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't know. Um, but I do know that I'm missing some. Like, I recently traded away some Dreamcast games, and I realized that when I did my collection video because I was like, damn, where's my copy of Phantasy Star? And then I was like, where's my copy of Jet Grind Radio? And I was like, did I trade those games away? And I think I did. I think I traded some of those games away. Um, you should play Saturday Night Slam Master. It's a forgotten wrestling game. I might. I mean, not I might. I did actually, and I got my butt kicked twice. I thought I would do better if I played with Hagar, but no, I still got my butt kicked. The move sets in that game are really weird, and to really grab the opponents and like do your slam attacks, it's kind of technical. So all right, so I wanna kind of get into this conversation about like retro gaming conventions because I've been watching these gaming convention videos pretty much all summer long, right? And usually these videos come from the same YouTubers that we see and know within the space. And no hate and no shade to anyone that's gone to a gaming convention. No hate or shade on you. I think Retro Rick recently just had his gaming convention. And again, the same faces that you would normally see. I'm not gonna name anyone. You guys, if you guys follow the YouTube retro gaming community, you know who these people are. What's going on, Aposeptic? But what I notice when I watch these videos is that it's just a lot of vendors selling to other vendors. You know, I do see like casual like gamers walking around in the background, but I don't really see like a lot of people like actually. I'm not seeing a lot of transactions. The last time I went to an actual retro game convention was back in 2022. That was when I went to the Long Island Retro Expo, and I got a little bit of footage of that, but that was probably like 20. And let's keep in mind it was 2022, right? So in 2022 we were still in the thick of like the retro gaming craze because it didn't really die off until like 2023. Like pretty much once people could start going back outside, that's when like the whole retro gaming thing kind of tapered off, which we kind of knew that was going to happen because people could do other things now. They weren't just stuck in the house with nothing else to do. And back in 2022, when I went to that convention, there were a lot of people buying stuff. They weren't like people weren't going in there looking for like copies of like Rule of Rose and stuff, but people were buying like common stuff. Like I saw people buying like Turtles in Time or Sonic 2 or certain Street Fighter games. People were buying like regular stuff. And like now, like when I see these convention videos, like I don't even watch these like retro gaming convention videos to like watch the content creator so much. I'm usually just watching what's going on behind them. Like I'm usually watching what's going on in the background. And there's definitely a lot of vendor to vendor sales going on. Like it's like resellers selling to other resellers. And I feel like this is really all ending up in one spot because it seems like the thing to do in 2025 is buy up all of the low dollar games, like the low dollar sports games, the more common games. And it's because I feel like the only resellers that are really winning like long term are the ones who have gotten ungated on Amazon. So like they're not even going to the gaming conventions like looking for like rare Pokemon games or like rare N64 games. Like that type of YouTube content is kind of like dead almost. Like people don't care. People don't care about the rare stuff per se. A lot of the content is really around like, ooh, I got, NBA 2K14, which I don't know why that would where I don't know where else that would sell other than Amazon. Like Amazon is the only home for all of these like low tier games that are being showcased. And when I see a lot of the like content around this, those are the games that are being highlighted. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. I think like, buying a copy of Wii Fit, Wii Sports, those are all fun games, to play and enjoy with your family. I've played a lot of Wii Sports, but just going back to the resellers selling to resellers thing, like that's what's happening. It's just a bunch of resellers going to these conventions to get more inventory to then turn around and flip on Amazon because let's face it, you're not flipping NBA 2K14 anywhere else. You're not like you're not selling Madden like anywhere else. that stuff isn't going to sell anywhere else. And if I'm dead wrong, like if, because I'm not a reseller, like don't get me wrong, I do set games aside for trade deals, and I usually trade with other collectors. So if I get a game or something, or if I get a double of a game, I get it knowing, okay, I'm going to be where other collectors are who may not have these games, and they may have something that I want, and I can give them a stack of grails for maybe one ultimate grail that they might have. But I don't know what the market is like for these, I just don't know what it's like for these, these common games that I see a lot of these collectors buying. Let me jump in the comments and see what you guys have to say, because I want this to kind of be a discussion. Like, I kind of want to talk about it. So let's see. Use Oni. You can cheese the game with him. That's funny. Are games cheaper at conventions or higher? In the past, from what I've seen, the sticker price is usually, so I can only reference the Long Island Retro Expo, and this was a convention that I went to 3 years ago now, over 3 years ago now. And when I went, if I'm going to be honest, a lot of the vendors that were there were willing to cut deals. Now, you did, like, the sticker price felt a little high, but most of them were willing to cut deals with you, unless it was like a really rare game. Then they kind of like stuck to their guns on prices. So I think they're about the same, but the challenge with the convention is that you typically have to pay to get in. So, I mean, unless you're going there knowing you're going to spend a good amount of money on games, like for instance, let's say it costs you 30 to get in, and you go in there and you buy one $10 game. Well, that $10 game just cost you $40 because that was all you bought. You know what I mean? Like, so the math doesn't make sense there. If you have to pay 30, 40, $50 to get in the convention, you, like, for me, I would only do that if I'm going there knowing, okay, I'm looking for a copy of Kuon, and odds are I'm only gonna find it at this convention. Then I'll pay the $50 because I know I'm going in there to get a game that's worth $1,000 that hopefully I can negotiate down to maybe $800 and still come out, net positive $150, or get a $150 off of $1,000 game. And so I think it just depends on what you're going to the convention for. Now, obviously, there's other things at the convention. You can meet voice actors, you can meet artists, you can play consoles you've never had a chance to touch or see in person before. You can mingle, you can network, you can this, you can that, paraphernalia, all that stuff. Like, there's more to it than just the video games. But me, I ain't going to a convention for that. I'm going to a convention to strictly buy the games and leave. Like, I don't even show my face on YouTube. I'm definitely not going to mingle at a convention. In fact, some of you have probably stood next to me at a convention and didn't even know it was me. That's how incognito I am. So it just, that's just not what I do. Um, Boss fight video game conventions are for the resellers. Yeah, it's starting to feel that way. Conventions got eBay prices. Okay, I haven't been to one, so that's new. Let's see. Skirt says convention games are overpriced. Some I have no clue why it's priced so high. I could see that too. I could see that too. Boss fight. Also, vendors always buy a lot of the rare good stuff before it even opens. That's true too. So I recently, this is gonna be so funny. So I recently rewatched Heck and Steve's interview with Phoenix Resale. And if you've never seen that video, you should, like, if you want, you can either jump off this live now and go watch it, or you can watch it once I'm done with this live. But that interview has aged amazingly, because it's funny, like, one of the questions that Steve asked him was like, hey, how do you feel, like, do you feel like it's fair for to get into the convention and buy up all the good stuff before everyone else gets the chance to, you know and Phoenix Resale pretty much asked him, like, he kind of hit him with logic, in a sense. He was like, well, if you think about it that way, like, do you have a problem with people who get VIP passes? Because essentially a VIP pass gives people with the VIP pass access to the convention before everyone else. So if you're going to have a problem with me doing it, do you have a problem with the VIP people doing it? And the reason why Phoenix Resale was saying that was because, I guess, with the conventions, there's like different points of access. So like the highest level of access at the convention is if you're a vendor, right? Because you're there to sell stuff, so you're gonna be there to you're gonna be in there before everyone else because you have to set up your table, you have to set up your booth, all that stuff. So if you're while you're there setting up, you see other vendors and vendors do business with each other, okay, I kind of understand that because you guys probably had to pay hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to be able to set up a booth and sell your stuff there. So if vendors are doing business with vendors, okay, I get that. Um, what I would have said to Phoenix if it were me was, well, I in the video, because in the videos that he shows where he's getting like this vendor level access, he's not a vendor. Like I don't see him with a table set up. He's not there as a vendor. He's there as a wholesaler buying up wholesale products at wholesale prices. So he's not wholesaling. So his comparison to like VIP shoppers or people with VIP passes was a bad example because he's neither VIP nor is he a vendor. He's just a dude getting there before everyone else and just buying up the stuff. So and this is back then. Like I don't know if he still does this now. Now he has his own store. So who knows what his process is now. But I say all that to say because of the questions or something that somebody said, Boss Fight 1, you said also vendors are always buying up the rare and good stuff before it even opens. Listen, I don't really have a problem if vendors do business with other vendors, but if you're not a vendor, but you're being given vendor level treatment at the VIP price, that's kind of weird. You know what I mean? Because now you're your own unique case. And if people want to just give him that access because he's Phoenix Resale, well then just say that. You know, just say, we're just gonna do it because it's him. And screw it, but don't I think that was a bad analogy that Phoenix used, like, in trying to prove his point to Steve, I guess, to say like, well, if you have a problem with me getting there early, then you should have a problem with anyone getting there early, which I don't really think that that logic really held water in his scenario. But I could be wrong. You guys let me know down in the comments. Skur said, who would want to buy an obscure Atari game for 400 complete? I don't know, bro. I don't know who would want to do that. That's like dumb. Doug Fresh, if conventions are selling everything at eBay prices, how are resellers making money buying at eBay prices? That's a good question. That's because they're not buying at eBay prices. They're buying at wholesale prices. They're buying up entire bins and tubs. Like a lot of the vendors that sell stuff, that sell these bins of like low dollar games, they're just trying to get rid of that stuff. Because most of the vendors who are at those conventions, the low dollar games that they have are probably the games that they got when they bought like huge lots of games. So they've already cherry picked through those lots. They've separated the grail games. They've separated the really good stuff. And everything that they have in that $5 and under bucket, that's just all the leftover slop. So when someone comes along and says, "Hey, I'll give you 100, I'll give you 200 for this bucket of games," that the person buying the games feels like they got a deal because they got this whole bucket of like games for $200 that they could go flip on Amazon. But for the vendor, those were throwaway games. They didn't care about those games to begin with. So like you're paying them to get rid of games that they no longer have to worry about getting rid of. So I think that's where like the benefit comes in between the vendors at those conventions and then the resellers at those conventions. Doug, you must be a reseller with a comment like that. That's funny. He said, I'm not. I'm just a collector. Aposeptic says, buy two, get one free from GameStop. Got a copy of Manhunt 2 for free. Hopefully it comes with the case and manual. Nice. Nice stuff, man. Nice stuff. Skur says, I saw the Portland Retro Video Game Convention recently. The vendor selling many of the rare titles. It seems many buy lots and sit on it. That is why you don't see many out there. This is, yeah, that's that's precisely what, yeah, I agree. When you want to hunt, you don't get many obscure titles. Resellers simply buy them up and sit on them. This is true. This is true. Scumbucket, Illusion of Gaia. Yeah, it's a good, I mean, I don't know. I got to play it to see what is going on. B. Chunga says, hey, they're making a living. Most people want to play games. There's a balance and it keeps these old games alive. The majority of them are not going to be around forever. This is true. I mean, there's truth to that. Episeptic, best deals at conventions is going the last day. That's when the deals are made. Yeah, that is when the deals are made, but it again, it all depends on what you're going there for, right? It really all depends on what you're going there for. Like me, I would go to a convention. Like if I went, like the next time I go to a convention, because I'm probably gonna go to another one soon at some point. Um, for me, I would go to a convention for all the Grail games that I just can't find near me. Like if I went to a convention, I'd be looking for Bomberman Saturn, like Bomberman on the Sega Saturn. I'd be looking for, like I said, KO Flying Squadron. I'd be looking for like rare Sega CD games, rare Sega Saturn games. I'd be looking for, maybe some rare handheld stuff, maybe an Atari Lynx, maybe a rare Game Gear. I'd be going to conventions to find the really rare stuff that I want. That's how I'd use that. If I don't have the registration card inside the manual for a Dreamcast game, it means it's not CIB. I don't know. I guess that's preference. I don't know. I don't know. I guess that's your call. I mean, a lot of those like Capcom games, especially like the fighting ones, they had like the Fighter's Edge tear off. Sometimes they have the Fighter's Edge thing, sometimes they don't. Some people actually subscribe to Fighter's Edge back in the day. So I don't know. Depends on you. Finally, you got the manual for my copy of Rival. Finally got the manual for my copy of Rival Schools. It only took about 15 years. Leon Smith. That is hilarious. I bet you were like you shed a tear when you saw that manual. You were probably like, finally. I never honestly been to a convention and bought a game. I went to a con, and there were video game vendors there, and the games were much above market. Those vendors make money though. I guess they do. I don't know. Depends on who's buying that stuff. Were you at the Portland Retro Gaming Convention? I was not. I think it should be a level playing field, but I get the vendors buying from vendors. They could do that outside the convention if they wanted to. They could. So that, I mean, boss fight, I hear what you're saying, but you got to think about the convenience, right? Usually, if you own a video game store and you're going to a convention as a vendor, you're probably, not probably, those guys usually bring their best items to the convention, right? So, and these are dudes that are coming from all over the country. So to do the type of deals that those vendors would do at a convention outside of the convention, they'd have to fly all over the country. They'd have to like go from Southern California to New York to Portland to Boston to Philly to Texas. It'd be too much. So I get vendors meeting at a convention because they're vendors from all over the place, and they have a one-stop shop opportunity to actually view and hold the products that they're considering trading for. So so I do get your point. Yeah, they could do it outside the convention and leave the convention for that, but it just makes that whole process really easy for them. And as a business, as a video game mom and pop shop store owner, I get that logic. I get why you would take advantage of the convenience of having all of your peers in one spot doing deals at the same time. Charles Hollis, I saw a guy at our local expo systematically go to each booth and bought every Grail level nice game he could. I'm talking First Print CIB, Pokemon Gen 1, Pikachu N64, and others. He was a store owner. Yeah. Yeah, that's what they're gonna do. That's what they're gonna do. DJ Killzone Jones. What's going on, man? Charles Hollis. It was super depressing and discouraging to go to any other conventions. Yeah, I mean, that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Like, if you're going to a convention and you're looking for grails, like I would only go to a convention looking for grails. But if you do go to a convention looking for grails, you have to know that there's a good chance that the grail that you went there for probably got purchased before the convention even opened. So you just have to consider all of that when you start buying your tickets. And again, if you go to a convention and it costs you $40 to get in, and you only buy, even let's say you bought 3 games for $10 a piece, those 3 games now just cost you $70 because you had to pay to get in. And then you have to ask yourself, could I have gotten these games on eBay for 30 for less? And then you have to ask yourself, was the extra $40 worth the gaming convention experience? Because that's what you're paying for at that point. So you just, the value is subjective, right? Money is objective. Like the dollar amounts are objective, value is subjective, and only you can determine the amount of value you place on a retro game convention experience. Um, Did GameStop buff your disc-based games? I don't think so. Let's take a look. That's a good question. Let's see. So this is the Castlevania game, and I'm gonna be honest with you, the Castlevania game looks pretty damn clean, and there's no buffing going on. I'll be honest with you, most of the PlayStation 1 games that I picked up are not buffed, and they're like in immaculate condition. So either they were buffed in like a state-of-the-art buffing machine, or they weren't buffed at all. Like, it just depends. Usually when you buy stuff at convention, you only get deals when you buy multiple games. This is true. You can get a deal if the vendor knows you. This is also true. What's your most expensive game in your collection? My most expensive game in my collection is my complete inbox copy of Last Resort for the Neo Geo AES, the dog tag version. That game is roughly around $1,000. That is my most expensive game. Um, how how does you how does YouTuber like Mr. Rightway afford to fly out to every convention in America? Doug, that is a question for Mr. Rightway. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't know how a lot of these guys do any of what they do. Like, I feel like I put out a good amount of content, and I do a lot of YouTube. Honestly, a lot of this is really cathartic and therapeutic for me. It's an outlet. That's why I do this. I really like it because I enjoy just interacting with you guys. Like, if this wasn't fun for me, I would not do it, right? But I have a full-fledged career, like a decades long career, right? And even I would not be flying all over the place to conventions. Like, I personally wouldn't do it. So I don't know how other people's finances are set up. I don't know how they're able to do it. I don't know how they live. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if Mr. Rightway has a family. I don't know if he has children. I don't know if he's in a relationship. I don't know. I don't know what he does. If it's just him by himself with no kids and no girlfriend and no nothing, like when it's just you, then it's a lot easier to fly all over the place because you don't have any responsibilities. You don't have anyone like to answer to. So yeah, I mean, despite how old he appears, I mean, if he's living the life of someone in their 20s with no responsibilities, then yeah, he can afford to fly all over the place. Because flights really aren't that expensive anyway. And then if a convention is flying him in to be a guest speaker, then all his stuff is comped. His room is comped, his flight is comped, and a lot of YouTubers, once you hit a certain point, which is the point I would guess that he's at, since he's in the 40, he's in the tens of thousands of subscribers, he probably is comped for going to some of these events. I've talked to store owners. Usually when they don't get stock like Dreamcast, Saturn, or other titles, convention is the only way they can buy those stock, even if it's low dollar items. Yeah, makes sense. I notice even store owner opening up to import games because it's pricey to the North American version. Yes, again, I have a pretty deep import Saturn collection. Saturn Bomberman is amazing. I got it in a Saturn lot years ago. Same seller hit me up to sell his Dreamcast collection. Those are the days. Nice, Leon. Nice. Mr. Rightway has a veteran card and uses that to get deals. It's funny. It seems like Mr. Rightway is in Japan half the time. Y'all are going in on Steve. Grail Bound Gaming in the building. What's going on? Hey, Y2K, I've only been to one convention and a couple of local trade events. When I go to events like this, I usually split my pickups between low to mid-dollar games and a couple of grails at most. Yeah, I mean, that's a balanced approach, man. That's that's the most balanced approach you could have to anything like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, and honestly, when you go to a convention with that approach, you can never really be let down, because if you go there and they don't have any grails, well, then you can just pretty much peruse the mid to low dollar games. If you get there and all the low dollar games are sold, you might get lucky and snag a grail. So I think that's a pretty balanced approach. Robert M says my local stores are just as expensive or more expensive than eBay, at least for some of the games I've looked for. Yeah, I mean, same here. Usually my local game stores are overpriced. I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. My local game stores are just overpriced, just by 5 to 10% every time. Um, let's see. Mr. Rightway always uses his military discount at GameStop. I know Mr. Rightway, a retired veteran, but that's all I know. I've never been to a convention. I know I would have peak FOMO. Yeah, I mean, gaming conventions can bring that out of you for sure. But yeah, yeah. I mean, look, you got to do what works for you. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I think game collecting is in a very it's in a cool spot. I think a lot of the attention is still there, but I think a lot of people have walked away from the hobby because of the price tag associated with it. And now that Amazon is in the mix and resellers are realizing that they can leverage low dollar games by selling them on Amazon, it's going to make it difficult for new collectors to start their collections because pretty soon there won't even be any cheap games available because all of the cheap games will be pretty much absorbed by these reselling businesses. When you see a video and it has 100 copies of Wii Fit or 30 copies of Mario Kart Wii or 100 copies of some other Wii or 360 or PlayStation 3 game, when you see that, that's where all the inventory is going. If you're ever in a store and you're like, damn, whatever happened to all the copies of this game? Well, guess what? In someone's basement, they've got about 20 copies of that game sitting on a shelf somewhere waiting to get sold on Amazon. And I think that's the next phase of this hobby. I think people are over the grails. I think most people have pretty much said, you know what, I'm done with trying to get these expensive games. I don't want to deal with them no more. I'm just going to emulate or do something else. And the ones that have not done that but are still interested in buying games are saying, you know what, I can't do the grails, but I can do, you know, Destiny or Skylanders or these other cheap games. I can do that and try to flip that. So Doug Fresh, how are local game stores able to stay in business if they sell everything over eBay prices? Foot traffic, man. Foot traffic. You can't deny foot traffic. Um, there's, if, and again, it all depends on how long you've been around. Like, I know of a store in the tri state area that's a game store that's been featured on YouTube that's currently downsizing. You know, it was a local store that had one store. They started to gain popularity. They blew up during the peak of retro, the retro game craze. And sometime between 2022 and 2024, they opened a second location. And now they're downsizing again and they're letting go of that second location and they're going back to one location and they're revamping, their whole business process because I mean, they regardless of whatever reason they give, it's because they're probably not as profitable as they were, and the overhead is just too much for them to deal with. So now they're downsizing, and unless they can generate business from other means, whether it be selling other products, doing video game repairs, unless they can diversify their business, they're out of there. You know what I mean? They're gonna be toast, and I've seen that happen with a few mom and pop shops. I feel like the ones that are really successful still are the ones that have been really a part of their community for a long time. They do more than just sell games. They might host a video game competition. They might do like a Smash Bros tournament, or they might do different things that get people from the community out and into the store. But even with something like that, it's still a bit of a struggle. And so when I look at that store in particular, that I'm talking about, it's just an example of a mom and pop shop that enjoyed the boom and I don't want to say is now they're facing a bust, but times are getting tough, so they're downsizing again. Let's see. Not all stores are ripoff. You just have to hunt often. They may price way lower than price charting. You just have to have a keen eye. Yeah, look, listen, you're right. Check it out. This copy of Superman, $15, and that was at a store. This wasn't online. I walked into a store. The footage is on my YouTube channel. I walked into a store and bought this Superman game for $15, complete in box Game Boy game. And when I left, the store owner took my number down, and when he found this game, he called me back and said, hey, I also have this Superman game. Would you want to get it? So you could definitely find stuff in stores. I don't see many talk about the Evercade. Nah, I'm never getting an Evercade, bro. I don't think I'm ever gonna get that. Doug Fresh, do you see retro prices increasing over the next 5 years? No, I don't see them increasing over the next 5 years. If you're buying retro games thinking that they're going up in price, that's dumb. Don't do that. Unless you really like the hobby and you really want to have these games and own them, don't waste your money on that. Go buy stocks, go buy something else, go do something else. Video games are not an investment. These games that we think are grails and are worth a lot of money, that's not what it is. That's not it. That's not the move. I don't think they I don't in general I don't think they are. I do think there are some games that might, but I wouldn't look at video games like that. Like, oh, I'm gonna buy this because it's gonna go up in 5 years. Like I wouldn't look at it that way. Um Tech Game Tavern in Yonkers. That's funny. Um Grailbound, a lot of my local retro video game stores are beefing up their Pokemon TCG products and hosting TCG trade events. Prior to this year, they didn't have any Pokemon. So yeah, there you go. Yeah, because they understand what's going on. They understand that that's what's going to bring foot traffic into the store. Like the store that I mentioned earlier that had to close its shop, they were coasting and riding on the idea that they had a lot of Grail video games. And I think they felt like, well, because we have all these Grails, people are just going to be coming to us because we have all these Grails. When no, like the only people who care about Grails are the diehard collectors that are left, like the people that actually know about these Grails. Like most average people don't know about Project Justice. Like an average gamer will not know what that game is about. They're not gonna care about that. They're gonna be like, oh, okay, I saw this and I walked out. This complete in box copy Superman, this game had been sitting in the store. Nobody cared about this because most people don't really care outside of the gaming community. And I think that store figured because they had so much heat, and they do have heat, but I think they thought, well, we got so much heat, we're gonna stay hot forever. And it was like, no, you're not hot because the average hobbyist isn't looking for grails like that. The market shifted, the climate's changed, and everybody's on TCG right now. So if you're not like if you don't have some type of Pokemon element to what you do, you're gonna fall behind and you're gonna get smoked. And that's where a lot of game stores like Double Jump Games and some of these other game stores that I see, this is why they're putting Pokemon cards in their stores because they know people are going to come for that. And then maybe a byproduct of people buying Pokemon cards might be, okay, we're also going to get some video games. You just got to be smart. Boss Fight 1 says, I found a SNES Wild Guns Authentic for $10. Damn, that's a steal. That's a steal, especially in 2025. I almost had a heart attack. I bet you did. I bet you did. I bet your hand started shaking. You grabbed it real quick and you tucked it under your shirt and prayed no one saw you and ran out of there with it. Skirt happens to me too. Picked up Diablo PS1 for $1. It was placed in the shelf with the other CDs. I also picked up the same place a popular PC game called Blood for 25 cents. Yeah, there you go. I mean, the deals are out there. They're out there. You got to be out there too. I know about Project Justice. That's funny. Yeah, guys. Well, look, listen. I just wanted to have this quick convo. This ran longer than I thought it would. 48 minutes. Damn. I'm always telling myself this is only going to be 30 minutes, but then you guys get going with some good questions, and I know my hands are shaking. Right. I'm over here because I keep switching the phone from hand to hand. But this went a lot longer. But look, that's how you know you're having a good conversation when it goes longer than anticipated. I appreciate you all of you chatting in with your questions and comments and thoughts. And I'll catch you in the next one. It's the Y2K Collector, you guys. Take it easy.